High Mileage Need Love 2 here, and I've got the 91 Cherokee behind me, and today I'm going to be doing the fuel pump, spark plugs, thermostat gasket, coolant temperature sensor, and the fuel filter. And we're going to see if we can get this thing back into running shape. Let's do it. I got to be over here so you can see me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this coolant hose. It's a 8mm for my clamp and another 8mm. These are the heater core hoses that supply hot coolant to the heater core so that you can get nice hot heat for your soul when it's cold outside. So I have a 5-gallon bucket underneath the car, so when I undo these hoses, I may get some coolant spilling out. Let's get started. So right here, I'm removing the larger heater hose, and I used a suction gun to pull some of the coolant out of the thermostat. Alright, we got some coolant spillage, no big deal. I'm gonna undo this guy. This is your coolant temperature sensor, and this is just the plug that reads that. And next, I'm going to start undoing these bolts. Alright, so the thermostat was proving a little bit tricky, so I undid the fan shroud to give myself a little room to get my ratchet in there and undo the bolts. Move this hose out of the way. Both the thermostat housing bolts are 13mm. There's a top one and a bottom one. Got the bottom bolt out. Put this back. And then top bolt. Wow. Huh. So, was this thing stuck open? Oh, this is 180. That's why. This is not the right temperature for the car. It should be 195. Let's keep it that way. I'm going to take this bolt and clean it. I'm also going to clean this this housing, get it nice and shiny, and I'll be right back. So we cleaned off our thermostat housing, the tubes, this, we got our thermostat. Finally, our gasket. Go like this. You want to start by putting the thermostat into the engine, and then the gasket on the thermostat housing. Then put the thermostat housing over the thermostat and tighten up the upper bolt, and then work on the lower bolt, and then alternate between both bolts so that you don't over tighten them. They should just be hand tight. You want to make sure to tighten them evenly so you don't snap that bottom ear off. Just hand tight. Right here, I'm just reinstalling the fan shroud. It's got two 8mm bolts. And then you want to make sure you put the reservoir hose behind it so that it stays nice and tucked. New coolant temperature sensor. So before you put the sensor in, you want to take a piece of Teflon tape, or plumber's tape, whatever you want to call it, and just wrap it around the threads. Okay. Got it nice and I'm going to start threading it in. Get an adjustable wrench. Does not have to be this big. This might be a little bit overkill. You want to be careful not to over tighten the coolant temperature sensor so you don't crack the housing. We'll leave it as is. Next, before we put these hoses back on, you want to get the rings on the hoses, and you want to fill the thermostat with coolant so that you don't get a bubble. Mopar 3-year formula, they don't sell this stuff anymore. I got this because I work at a Jeep store, and it was an old unit that just sat on a shelf on one of the techs.
So you want to fill this larger diameter thermostat housing with a little bit of coolant. It won't take a lot because the thermostat will be closed. Then stick a funnel in the smaller diameter. This one will take a substantial amount of coolant. And what this does is it eliminates a bubble forming and causing any overheating issues. And once that's done, you're done with the thermostat job.
So before we get this fuel pump out, this car has 3/4 tank of gas, and I gotta get the fuel out somehow. And I don't have a fuel siphon, so there's an old technique where you get a 3/8 hose, about 4 feet, stick it in the gas tank. You wedge some shop rags around it to essentially seal it off. Take an air nozzle, put it into the hose, blow some air, pressurize the tank, and the gas only has one place to come out. And you do this until you've filled a Home Depot bucket full of gas. Best part is when you're done, stick a funnel in there, put a strainer, and just put the gas back inside. So here's your fuel pump. I believe 93 and below Cherokees had this. And you've got this lock ring that you got to punch counterclockwise, and 2 clamps here that I think are 1/4 inch. And yes.
You want to undo both clamp rings and use a pick to pry the hose off if it's been sitting for a while. This is the original fuel pump, so it took some doing to get this hose off. But you want to undo both hoses, label them if need be, or place them in a position where you can remember which one goes on top and which one goes on the bottom.
Just let that drain in a bucket, and it's done. I'm gonna tuck it right here. That way I know it's the top. Then I'm gonna move on to this one. Man. Whew, man. This one I will tuck right there. Now, you want to undo your connection, which is right over here. If I can get this to turn, it's a clip you pull, and that's it. You got a zip tie here. Looks like it's a one use, so you gotta snip this. This one, however, whoopsies. This one is reusable. Don't break it. Use a pick. There you go. And this one you gotta snip. So snip this one, and this one use a pick. So once it reaches that, it should come out like so. Set it aside. Okay, and then grab your bucket.
you're replacing your original fuel pump, most likely you're going to have to pry it out.
This old gasket can sometimes be an issue like it just was. Bend and just have your bucket ready. Hold your breath. Drop it into a bucket. Just clean this gasket. You can use a little bit of gas. So this is the fuel pump I got from Rock Auto. It's the Spectra fuel pump. Comes complete with the housing assembly, a lock ring, and a gasket. And I need a razor blade. Fuel pump. This is your sender. You want to be careful when you're putting the fuel pump in, not to damage this sender, this level sensor. This is the old fuel pump. It was working, but it wasn't putting out adequate pressure. I mean, it served its purpose for 217,000 miles. So you want to start by putting your gasket right there. Keep the sender
So what I came to find out was that when you put the fuel pump in, there's a section in the fuel pump where that little grommet at the bottom of the fuel pump has to sit into so that you could then place the lock ring and lock it tight. It took me roughly 35 minutes to figure this out, but once I got it, the fuel pump sat exactly where it needed to be and everything was good.
Okay, fuel pump's in. Moment of truth.
Thanks for watching all the way through to the end. If this video helped you, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content for this Jeep, and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/HMNLT. Link is in the description.